Hey everyone, welcome to the 31 Media podcast. My name is Vaishnavi Nashte. I'm the marketing manager here at 31 Media. Today's interview is in collaboration with the National Software Testing Conference. This conference is definitely a must attend for anybody who's looking to scale their organization or teams in the field of quality engineering, testing, or AI. This conference will be held in London in the month of July. And if you want to learn more or even to register for the conference, just follow the link in the description. Today on the podcast, we have Griffin, who is the CEO and founder of Meter, a platform that automates billing automations for B2B software and technology companies. So, without any further ado, welcome to the podcast, Griffin. How are you today?
I'm very good. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much for attending. Where are you joining us from?
I am joining from a currently sunny West London, a place called Chiswick, if you know London.
Oh, yeah, I think I have heard about it. I haven't been there, but
It's on the way
yeah,
to
it's a
the
nice
airport.
weather. Okay, nice. Yeah, we are based in Brighton ourselves. It's kind of cloudy today. It was kind of sunny during the lunch, but now it's become cloudy, but UK, isn't it?
Yeah.
Before we actually dive more into the major questions, could you tell our audience a little more about yourself?
I've had a career of two halves. So the first half I was a sort of a corporate person. I did sort of strategy and then digital strategy
Yeah.
and then digital products in media companies. So for
Hmm.
those in the UK, I worked at Sky for a long time, like 12, 13 years, which is really good fun.
Hmm.
Um, and the second part of my career has been startups. So there was something of a through line. There was a reason why I bridged from one to the other, but I, I ended up founding a cloud infrastructure business focused on the video game sector called GameSparks,
Oh, that's
and
cool.
that was fun and learned a lot. And sold that to Amazon. Worked at Amazon for a bit, and then founded our new company Meter about 4 or 5 years ago, which is focused on fixing the problems that we experienced ourselves back at GameSparks
Hmm.
and then again at AWS.
That's an exciting journey. And I can see like how and why the podcast is more focused on billing automation now. Um, but yeah, definitely your area of expertise, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, and I've experienced the pain myself too. So,
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, we had it in the previous business. Um, we had a lot of operational pain associated with billing,
Right.
and it was
Mm.
linked to up the pricing model we adopted. So we had a. This isn't the only reason, but one of the main reasons that people have like headaches in billing is
Mm.
a charging model they adopt, and so we had a usage-based pricing model, and that creates some challenges. And so yes, that was very painful. And then when we
Yeah.
worked with AWS, they also charge on the same basis, much bigger company,
Hmm.
obviously, but they had the same problems that we had at GameSbox. So that's when we started thinking, oh, maybe this wasn't just us. Maybe this is a widespread problem. And then we eventually
Yeah.
fix it.
Yeah, crazy because like it seems like irrespective of the size of the organization, every single company is facing the same problem, isn't it?
I mean, every company needs to bill. That's for sure.
Mm. Hmm.
Um, it's just something that you have to do. Like if you don't bill, you don't have any revenues and you don't have any cash. Um,
Yeah.
Billing can be pretty simple. So
Yeah.
particularly quite simple charging models, if everybody's on the same basic plan, for example, and also it depends on how many customers you have. So almost every company will start off doing billing on a manual basis because it will be over engineering to do anything different. But at a
Hmm.
certain stage, you become big enough as a business and complicated enough as a business that you need to start automating those billing tasks.
Yeah, that makes sense. Which actually brings me to my first question.
Okay.
So, why do you think are accuracy and reliability so crucial in billing automation? And what do you think are the biggest risks of getting it wrong?
I don't think I think about it slightly differently. I think they're a requirement for billing operation. So you
Hmm.
you have to be accurate when
Hmm.
you're billing generally. And so if
Yeah.
you're automating billing, you also need to be accurate. It's just what billing needs to be. Um, and uh, and so the question is really about why do you need to get billing right? And there's I mean there's lots of reasons, but I call out three in particular. So One is if you get billing wrong, it creates a lot of work for you because your customers call you up and they go, I don't understand my bill, or my bill is wrong. And you're going to have to start dedicating a lot of effort in your customer success teams, or wherever you have that, and they need to answer the call and calm the customers down. But I actually think the other two are much bigger problems. So the second one is it erodes customer trust. So if the customer is having to ring you up to talk about how their bill is wrong, that starts making them lose confidence and faith in you as a provider. And at that point, they become more likely to churn, or certainly less likely to use more of your product or commit to your product longer. They're not quite sure about you.
Mhm.
And the third reason is yeah, a lot of billing errors are to do with underbilling. So people don't put enough on the bill. They miss things. And if you're in a situation like that, you literally have money running through your fingers. So we describe it as revenue leakage, but that has a big impact. And if you were billing properly, that money would drop straight to the bottom line. It has zero cost of goods sold associated with it. So it has quite a big impact on profitability. So
Mhm.
billing is something that is worth getting right. And if you're automating billing, you have to expect it to be completely reliable.
Okay, that definitely makes sense. And when it comes to billing automation, like what do you think are the most common challenges that companies are currently facing when it comes to implementing it in the first place, especially in software development?
Um, For some people, it can be quite easy, but again, it depends on the type of company you are. And there's sort of so there's three angles. So one is how big you are as a company. Two is what your charging model is. So some companies, and this has been typical in software for the last 20 years, have quite simple charging models. It's based on simple recurring subscriptions, which is what SaaS is all about. But then there are more complicated ones like usage-based pricing, which is a real rising theme in software at the moment. There's a real sea change and movement towards usage-based pricing. And then the third thing is your go-to-market motion. So if you've got a product-led growth model, it's likely that your pricing will be quite standard, which makes billing quite easy. As soon as you have sales-led motions, which are often overlaid on top of product-led motions, it's much more likely that you'll have custom pricing plans for particular
Mhm.
individual customers. And then you have a proliferation of pricing plan, and that makes billing harder. So but if you're at the kind of the easier end of the spectrum, so you're relatively small business, or you've got relatively simple charging models, or you've got relatively simple from a billing point of view motion, then billing automation is quite easy, and there are lots of great tools out there. They're particularly linked to the rise of SaaS. There's lots of subscription management and billing vendors out there that can make the automation of billing pretty easy. But as soon as you start getting towards the other end of the spectrum, like you're bigger, you have more customers, you have more pricing plans, you have more challenging charging models that involves capturing usage data and applying pricing to it, then you need to start thinking harder. And it's much less obvious that there are easy vendor solutions available to you. And I mean, calling out like gotchas, things that catch you out, definitely capturing and processing usage data is a big tricky one. It's like if you don't have to do that, it's quite easy. If you do have to do that and you've got a high volume or high velocity of usage data, or that usage data is complicated, that's definitely something to watch out for. Another thing to watch out for is the connection between customer order details or customer agreements and billing. So, you'll go and do a deal, and that'll have, say, a schedule on the back of the deal saying, well, this is the pricing for you as a customer. Now you have to make sure that all the information in that agreement is included in the billing automation mechanism. And so you need to make sure that connection is strong and ideally automated. So you do a deal, maybe it's updated in your CRM and it automatically goes into billing. That's another thing I'd watch out for. And then a third thing is just there are simple pricing models and then there are complicated pricing models. Like simple models, simple subscriptions, easy. But you can get way more complicated things. I could jump all the way to the other end of the scale, and you've got to think about tiered pricing, volume-based pricing, lots of billing logic like prepayments or commitments. Maybe you've got a credit model where people buy credits and they have to draw all that down. That starts involving a lot of complex logic that you have to involve in your billing to work out the right amounts.
Yeah, that's definitely quite helpful because we covered like a wide range of challenges that companies are facing, isn't it? And thank you for also like shedding some light on the different pricing models. Definitely helps for like a bit more context.
It's my world. I mean, I'm not a pricing strategist, but
Mm-hmm.
customers are struggling with complex or relatively complex pricing models, and
Yeah.
working out how to do it and do it in an automated, reliable way is sort of a key challenge to them. So yeah, this is my world, my wheelhouse.
Yeah, definitely seems like it. But coming to the next question now, how do you think, like, how does usage-based pricing models, like, I think you've sort of already covered this a little bit, but how do you think usage-based pricing impact in software testing? Like, does it have like an impact in software testing and deployment processes or not?
Well, there's two angles to it, so which are completely different. But one is to think about you as a vendor. If you as a vendor, a software vendor, have usage-based pricing, what does that mean for you in terms of testing, and particularly around billing? But the other angle is you as a buyer of software, because smart software companies buy services from other smart software companies. So taking that one first, your listeners are particularly interested in software testing, aren't they? Like, so they tend to work at software companies and they're interested in testing. So it's likely that they will be using services from vendors like Tricentis or Circle CI to help them automate their testing processes in various ways. Now, those vendors almost always have some degree of usage-based pricing. So, it can be associated with resource consumption, for example. So you
Mm-hmm.
as a buyer, you need to think about how their pricing will convert to bills that you get through the door. So how you use their product and how much you use their product is going to mean higher or lower bills for you. So that's definitely something you should be thinking about. The good news is that good vendors are generally pretty transparent about their pricing, so it's pretty clear how your usage converts into spend. And there are also some
Mm-hmm.
mechanisms that they'll deploy to allow for a degree of predictability. So a good example is if you commit to a certain level of spend, you'll get
Mm-hmm.
generous usage allowances associated with that commitment and discounted rates for any overages above it. So you kind of it's usage based, but you know with quite a high degree of confidence how much you're going to spend because you can roughly guess how much you're going to use, and so there's quite a lot of predictability. But anyway, generally
Mm-hmm.
think about it as a user. Like your vendors
Right.
will have usage based pricing themselves. And then flicking completely to the other end of the spectrum. So you as a software vendor, like I'm not going to suggest I'm not going to teach anybody anything about software testing, but
Mm-hmm.
not product. But it might be fun just to zero down and sort of like focus on the automation of the billing part. So like, how do you test for that? I mean, a lot of it is just normal good practice, but there are a few particular things to look out for. One is definitely about usage data processing. So problems in billing or the automation of billing are very often associated with corrupted or poor usage data. So
Mm-hmm.
you've captured it, but you've missed gaps or duplications or corruption of data. So you need to make sure you have a good, we would call it a mediation layer, just to make sure that you're pulling in all that data and then you're cleaning it and validating it effectively so it's ready for billing. So that's definitely one thing to look out for.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing, another thing to look out for is something I called out before, that connection between the order data, the commercial agreement, and what you're
Mm-hmm.
using in billing. You've got to make sure that you've got the most up-to-date information.
Right.
And you might remember I mentioned revenue leakage before. This is a classic cause of revenue leakage, is that people will be using out-of-date pricing when they calculate bills. So a
Right.
person has talked to the customer and they've agreed a new deal, and the customer has said, "Yep, sure, I'll pay you a bit more for whatever reason." And then
Mhm.
somebody forgets to tell the billing team who are still using the old information. So the
Right.
invoices they're creating are using old pricing and the bill is too low. So anyway, so you've got to
Mhm.
make sure that that connection it works, and ideally you'd automate it. Um, and then just to chuck another idea in, like one thing that I definitely think is best practice, which is more about how your finance and billing operations people would test what they're doing, is that you should have some kind of manual check, ideally with some kind of anomaly detection for the
Mhm.
bill produce. So if you've got automated billing, you probably don't want the billing to go straight into your invoicing system. You want some kind of check in place, but you don't want to
Mhm.
manually check every bill because that would be like take a long time. It'd be painstaking,
Yeah,
particularly
of
for customers.
course.
But you can, there are little tells, like, so you can set up a test so that if the bill is within 10% plus or minus,
Mhm.
it's probably fine. But if it's above that threshold, it needs a manual check. That is a very effective way of catching or capturing most problems. Anyway, so there you go. It's a long answer. Think about yourself as a buyer and as a seller. You know, it's billing operation. It's not so different from any other automated process. You just need to make sure the right checks are in the right places.
Perfect. And that definitely was not a long answer.
Right?
Definitely helps with a lot more context. So thank you for that. And I think this interview would definitely be incomplete if we don't address AI in this
Yeah.
interview as a question. But what role do you think AI and data analytics play in optimizing pricing strategies for SaaS businesses?
Again, it's a really interesting question, and there's two completely
Mm,
different angles to it. So
mm-hmm,
one is the rise of AI is one of the big drivers of this move towards usage-based pricing in software. And the reason is that software vendors are adding AI features, and those AI features generally have variable costs associated with their usage. So, you need to call out to an LLM, and that's going to cost you X number of tokens. So software companies start worrying that their heaviest users are going to bankrupt them. It's like, oh, right, I've got this. It's brilliant. The AI feature is sort of part of what's being offered. But if someone uses it too much, that really damages the margins of that customer. So that what they start thinking about is, well, can we have some usage-based elements associated with this? Perhaps there would be an allowance, but above that allowance, they would be charged more. So that's definitely one interesting thing is AI, the offering of AI features is driving more usage-based pricing.
mm-hmm,
But from a completely different angle, uh, you can apply AI to price optimization, um, and making sure that you are running your pricing really well and identifying the best pricing strategies for individual companies or customers. We do a lot of this, but and so I could rabbit about it all day. Just to call out two examples. Um, One interesting thing to do is to use AI to allocate the your costs. Like software
mm-hmm,
companies tend to have quite a high shared costs, like shared tenancy solutions, and use AI to allocate those costs to individual customers. And what you're doing or achieving by doing that is that you understand what margins are on a per customer basis.
mm-hmm,
And this is something that you should really do when you're planning what your pricing should be, because you want to see how variable your margins would be depending on what pricing model or pricing strategy you adopt. So it's a really interesting analysis to do. It's like, if we make our pricing like this, our customer margins would be in this band. If we make it like this, it could be, for example, fixed subscription, they could be wildly different. So that's a fun way of using AI.
mm-hmm,
And another way is uh, there's a lot of predictive analytics you can do with AI, particularly in a usage-based scenario. It's like based on the behavior of this customer in the past and the behavior of customers that look a lot like them, this is what we would expect them to use and therefore pay us in the next period. And that solid foundation you can do a whole bunch of things with, because if you see deviation from
mm-hmm,
that prediction, it alerts you to do something. So,
mm-hmm,
so you get an anomaly detection or a usage health score, for example. It's like, this customer is their usage is rising and what they're paying is rising, but that was expected. But this
mm-hmm,
customer is growing really quickly. there's something, they must be really accelerating their use of my product. I should talk to them now. I should proactively initiate a conversation with them to understand what they're doing, how we can help, whether we want to move them up to a higher tier where they pay us more, where they have more price predictability. So that's a great way of using AI, just to give those insights into what your customers are doing and alerting you to the conversations you most want to have.
Right. Thank you for that answer. Definitely, yeah, it would have been incomplete without addressing AI and how it affects automation. But it's great that we've covered like the main topics, like what are the challenges and how you got into the space and the integration of AI as well. But like one final question after addressing all of this, when it comes to like actually the implementation of it, how do you think, or how can companies in general ensure like a seamless integration of billing automation with testing environments and effectively handle edge cases?
Well, you need a price calculation mechanism. It depends what you mean by edge cases. So my interpretation, given what I do, is an edge case is a particularly difficult pricing design associated with an individual customer. So your sales team have designed this great deal that wins the customer or retains them or expands them, but
Mhm.
it's slightly out of the ordinary or very out of the ordinary, and you need to be able to accommodate it in your bill calculation processes. So I mean, the way to do that is you have um, a flexible bill calculation infrastructure. And it's surprising how few customers or companies have this because generally people design for the pricing they know about and it's a relatively inflexible system. And then if you have different pricing, it actually requires development, like it requires coding to accommodate that new pricing model. So this again, is very much something that Meta focuses on, is that we provide a solution which is configurable. So you can
Mm,
easily add new pricing or new billing logic um, with configuration rather than code. So I am slightly selling ourselves at this point, but whatever solution you have, it should anticipate that the requirements of the future are different from the requirements you know about right now. So you need that flexibility.
perfect. Thank you so much for that answer, Griffin. But it was a pleasure having you on the podcast today. And
Thank you.
I'm sure, like, even the article that you've written, I'm excited for our audience to read that as well, which will be available across all of our three platforms, which is Software Testing News, DevOps Online, and the Software Testing News for North American region. But
Sure.
again, thank you so much. Is there anything else you want to say to our audience today?
No, if you want to hear more about or find out more about Meta, you can visit our website, which is meta.com, M3TER. Apart from that, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Griffin. I hope you have a lovely day ahead.
You too. Bye bye.